16th of July, 2015. There is a quorum present, and I call this meeting to order. Business is roundtable introductions. I'm Paul Kenninger, the President of the Association.
John Hay, Legal Counsel.
Barbara Drashak, Director.
Joe Patel, Director.
Sonia Kobler, Director.
Rich Fuente, Director at Large. Justin Mack, Director at Large.
Richard Miller, Director, Tower 1.
Frank Fittipaldi, General Manager.
Thank you. The first order of business tonight is the approval of the open meeting minutes of the meeting of June 11, 2015.
I move to approve the minutes from the June 11, 2015 G.T.C.A. Board of Directors meeting open session as previously circulated.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? There appears to be no discussion. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying yes or raising your hand. The motion is passed unanimously. We now into reports and remarks. I have a few short remarks to make. Last month, we held a bagels with the board meeting in the Spa Lounge. All the board members who attended learned a great deal about how the residents perceive the many challenges we face at the Galaxy. This was a learning opportunity for the board and the residents, which we will repeat in the coming months. One misconception about this meeting that I want to correct is Bagelsville Board is not a meeting for owners only. The invitation we sent out was to all residents, owners, and renters are welcome. We're all in the same community. We all can make contributions to make this a better place. And we all face common problems. So I would encourage everybody to come to the next one. And again, the G.T.C.A. Appleview Litigation Fund, as you know, all future litigation will be funded by optional homeowners' contributions. We're in the final stages of the appeal, so any contribution will be accepted and used for this litigation cost only. Contributions are necessary to allow for oral arguments in regard to the brief. The estimated cost of the oral argument is $5,000. For the oral arguments, we received 23 contributions of $2,015. If you wish to make a contribution to the Appleview Litigation Fund, please submit your contribution to the Controller's Office. Take checks payable to the G.T.C.A. Condo Association, and please note on the checks, Appleview Fund. We're now going to move on to John, who is going to give us the legal report.
With respect to contracts, we prepared the spa roof replacement contract with Wilcoff Roofing and Construction, Inc. We have also prepared a contract for the spa glass replacement and glazing with Spa Atrium. Let's see, that's with KJP Enterprises, Inc. We prepared a third agreement for Brunello Ristorante, which I believe will be voted on later this evening, allowing for outdoor seating on the common sidewalk. With respect to the National Labor Relations Board suit, having the board having approved and Carl having signed the union contract last month, Labor Counsel Christopher Murray has now received an email from the compliance officer at the NLRB indicating that the case will be closed and that a formal case closure letter will be issued. As of a week ago, that had not yet been issued, but that is contemplated shortly, and that will put an end to that particular situation. We also updated the memorandum that we have provided to management with respect to litigation status for prospective lenders, so that if a lender who is looking to make a loan against a a unit for refinance or for purchase, wants to have the status of litigation matters. That is now current to July 8th, 2015. In terms of resolutions, we've drafted a revision to Administrative Resolution 41 concerning the Code of Ethics, which will be discussed later this evening. We've also drafted a revision to Policy Resolution 15, which deals with rules and regulations for conduct in the mini park, expanding those rules and regulations to the tower bridges. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for council? There appears to be no question for council. Now we'll go on to the general manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, board and Galaxy community. I'm pleased to report the start of the following capital improvement projects at Galaxy, totaling approximately $1.4 million, which will take place over the next several months between August and the end of the calendar year. They include replacement of 73 panels of the atrium glass at estimated cost of $314,000, install of 7 HVAC units for spa and common hallways, $167,000, replacement of the indoor pool, flat roof, $56,000, plaza driveway waterproofing somewhere in the approximate neighborhood of $750,000, and the design for a hallway redecorating, design portion of that project approximately $100,000 to $150,000. I'll explain each of these in more detail, but first I'd like to assure the board and the community that every effort is being made to minimize the disruption to residents while these projects are underway. Unfortunately, for safety reasons, the atrium glass project cannot proceed without closing the indoor pool, which must be closed on or about August 17th. It will likely remain closed until the later part of October, while the roof project and annual maintenance of the pool surface also takes place following the atrium glass replacement. I'll now give a brief status on each of these projects. On atrium glass, I'm recommending the board proceed with the execution of a contract with KJP Enterprises of Patterson, New Jersey for the replacement of 73 panels of glass. At last month's open board meeting of the association, the board voted to award this contract to KJP contingent upon two items. One, written confirmation that KJP's bid proposal complies with the bid specifications, and two, the execution of a written contract approved by G.T.C.A. Council. I can confirm that both of these conditions have been met. The bid was reviewed and found to be in compliance both by internal staff and the engineering consultant who developed the specifications for this project. Also, KJP's bid of $314,000 compares favorably to the engineer's internal estimate of $490,000. In a previous contract with Weehawken Glass Company in the year 2013, 2 panels of the atrium glass were replaced at an average cost of approximately $1,800 per panel, while the average cost of replacement under the proposed contract with KJP would be more in the neighborhood of $4,000 plus per unit, more than double. At the board's request, I met with the principals of Weehawken Glass Company on Friday, June 26th. Directors Art Segai and Richard Del Fuente also participated in that meeting. After reviewing the requirements of the project with Weehawken Glass, it was obvious this contractor lacked the sophistication to properly execute a job of this size. In a follow-up phone call, the principals indicated they would not be able to meet the insurance requirements or the minimum requirements for the contractors for this project. With only one service vehicle and no full-time employees other than the 2 principals themselves, they were too small a company to handle a project of this size. And although we offered the possibility of entertaining a late bid from Weehawken Glass, they declined the bid. Association Council has prepared a contract for execution, which is now with the contractor. The lead time for ordering of the custom glass required for this project is 4 to 6 weeks. And in order to begin this project on time, the contract will need to be executed by no later than next Wednesday, July 22nd. I believe we're on track. HVAC installation project, another large complicated project. Staff has had several meetings with the 4 active bidders and their rigging subcontractors and crane companies to work out the challenging logistics of this project. A bid addendum was also sent to the contractors on June 23rd, following a first round of bids. Bids were received on July 10th. Award of this contract will be recommended this evening. On or about September 14th, a crane will lower the new HVAC units from the plaza level down to the north and south mechanical rooms at the pool level. Following this, the HVAC units which provide cooling for the spa and lower common hallways will be demolished and removed. And for approximately the next 4 to 6 weeks, there will be no cooling delivered to the hallways while the units are assembled and started up. Temporary cooling will be needed for the spa lounge and cardio weight rooms, and that is why a small contingency amount is proposed for this contract to cover the temporary cooling. On the atrium roof, throughout the winter of 2014 and 2015, the atrium roof began leaking into the indoor pool area below. Our inspection in the spring revealed that the roof insulation was saturated, requiring a total tear-off and total roof replacement. This work cannot be safely done while the indoor pool is in use, and consequently, this extends the time of the indoor pool closing for an additional 2 weeks from October the 1st to approximately October the 15th. And then finally, indoor pool maintenance. Each year the pool must be closed and drained for approximately 2 weeks for routine repairs and maintenance of the surface. This will be done immediately following the glass and roof projects. And to expedite the reopening of the pool, our goal is to reduce the annual maintenance time to 1 week and have the indoor pool reopened sometime around the 3rd week of October. Plaza driveway waterproofing and resurfacing is also advancing. The first phase of the engineering work is now complete, and preliminary findings as to the condition of the driveway and causes of the excessive settlement of pavers and water infiltration into the mall have been identified. The waterproof membrane was found to be intact and well adhered to the structure below. However, determinations around the drains have been compromised and will need a replacement. That is the source of most of the leak problems into the mall. As anticipated, the engineer has identified options and cost estimates for repair and resurfacing of the driveway. Next steps are to select one of those options, develop specifications, and take competitive bids in the first week of September. This project is on track for commencement of construction in late September, with completion approximately two months later in the 3rd week of November. The hallway renovation project. Last month I reported that negotiations with the design firm originally contemplated for this project had unfortunately broken down. In the last month, a request for proposals was developed and sent to 24 design firms, 11 of which expressed interest in the project. Staff met with each of the 11 interested firms at length to review the specifications and conduct tours of the property. And following the site visits, 3 of the interested firms also declined to participate, so we're down to eight firms. The design committee has since met and developed criteria for the evaluation of the technical portion of the proposals. Proposals from the remaining 8 firms are due by 12 noon tomorrow. The schedule for moving this project forward is extremely aggressive. The committee members will be busy over the weekend to review and evaluate these proposals for our next meeting on next Monday, July 20th. And following the committee evaluations, the board will be asked to meet with the top 3 ranked firms, make a final decision. Contract for design is on track to be awarded at the August board meeting. I want to just talk briefly about the heating plant because the board had originally anticipated possibly replacing one of the 2 large boilers this year. As staff is launching these other projects I just spoke about, we're in the process of completing specifications for evaluation, design, and engineering to modernize the Galaxy's 40-year-old heating plant. And by heating plant, I mean not just the boilers, but all the ancillary equipment necessary to provide heating for the common areas and domestic hot water for residential units and small commercial units. Included in this are the two low-pressure steam boilers, feed water pumps, steam to hot water heat exchangers, domestic hot water booster pumps, steam traps, condensation tanks, associated valves and piping, all of which compromise the greater heating plant and must be included in any modernization project in order to improve reliability and energy efficiency. While the existing boilers are some 40 years old, their replacement is not the most critical point of potential failure in the overall heat plant. Both boilers have been functional during the recent 6-month period with no disruption in their service. Maintenance department recently repaired the burner on one of these units and will be taking each of the boilers out of service in the month of August and September to perform annual inspection and maintenance in sufficient time for the start of this year's heating season. The boilers should run without incident through the 2015-2016 heating season with a high level of reliability. However, the hot water generation and delivery system in the Galaxy, on the other hand, is in need of immediate attention and will be the early focus of the engineer's evaluation. Although replaced in the late 1990s, the 28 heat exchangers on the property cannot self-regulate and automatically adjust. In any given day, hour-by-hour changes in consumption and demand for hot water require constant monitoring and manual adjustment of the heat exchangers by the maintenance staff to deliver a constant temperature of hot water to the residential units. For those of you who have had to endure scalding hot water 1 minute and a cold shower the next, you know that this is not working out too well. Finally, a couple of projects that have been concluded in the last month. The last of the 3 electrical transformers was successfully installed on July 2nd on the 48th floor of Tower 1. This installation took longer than expected and was finally completed at 8 p.m. that evening, 3 hours later than anticipated. Also, on the elevator modernization project, on July 1, staff met with Slade elevator representatives to review the status of the elevator mod punch list. This modernization was completed in late 2013. However, closeout of the project remains incomplete due to unresolved ride quality issues with several cars in all the towers, namely excessive lateral movement. As a result, a final payment of $130,000 has been withheld from the contractor. The contractor continues to actively address all possible factors to address these ride quality issues. In the last 4 months, they have adjusted rails, tested oversized guide rollers, retrofitted springs, and equalized the tension on hoist ropes, and tuned the drive units, mainly on the Tower 3 elevators as a test. As a result, ride quality has improved somewhat. However, all parties, including Slade and our consultant, Vertical Systems, all believe there is still much room for improvement. A ride quality analyzer machine is now being used to quantify the ride quality issues. Slade, just this week, has again asked for additional time until the end of August to resolve these issues to our satisfaction. I believe we should give them that time, and at that time, once that's expired, final ride quality analysis should be conducted by our consultant using industry standard tolerances, which Slade has agreed to conform to. If the tolerances cannot be met, we will be compelled to initiate a formal complaint against the contractor. On spa operations, an update to briefly report. Galaxy has purchased the remaining lease on the existing cardio equipment in the fitness center instead of entering a new lease for new equipment. The new lease would have required a down payment of $35,000 this year, with a monthly payment of $914 for 36 months. To cut to the quick of this, the total cost would have been $58,000 and change for the 3 years on a new lease, or $22,170 and change for the alternative, which is to continue to own the equipment and maintain it for the next 3 years. The equipment has been evaluated in the last couple of months. It's in fairly good shape. It still looks good and works. We've made a few repairs. With the total cost of repairs and expected maintenance at about $5,000 a year. This initiative saves the Galaxy $36,000 over the next 36 months, or $1,000 a month. Finally, on the ongoing issue of speeding in the garage, beginning this week, residents began to see 2 security officers testing out the radar equipment purchased for this program that will be used in both the garage and the plaza. After the bugs are worked out and placement of the radar gun is determined, the trial and caution period will end, and violators will be identified and turned over to the Covenants Committee for fines or other possible sanctions. Before the board this evening are 4 decision items, and we'll get to that, I imagine, in a few minutes, Mr. President. That includes my remarks for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Are there any questions from the board concerning the report?
Frank, but elevators padding, some of them they're really in bad condition. What management has done about it?
Yeah, elevator pads in Tower 3 have been reconditioned by in-house staff. We had been looking into the replacement of those pads. They're only about 2 years old. They're certainly in poor condition. They get beat up not only by the movers, but also in the course of installing, removing, and reinstalling, which constantly happens. We've reduced some of that, and you may have noticed that we leave the elevator pads up longer than they have been in the past to avoid some of that damage caused by ourselves. Materials have been ordered to repair the Towers 2 and Tower 1 elevator pads. We're trying to get some more use out of them. Those pads are very heavy-duty, 1-inch thick foam with an acrylic type of cover. There's only one manufacturer in the United States that makes them that way, and they do offer a lot of protection for your finished elevators, particularly the mirrors in the back of the elevators. Very different than the traditional quilted thin elevator pads that you normally see. The cost to replace these are $10,000 per car, so we're doing everything we can to stave off that and look at other alternatives, but we haven't been able to identify any yet. You'll see those other 2 tower pads repaired in the next week or 2, now that the materials are in.
Are there any other questions?
Tower 1, the residents are experiencing they don't have hot water. So what temporary fix are you going to do regarding that, the problem with the hot water?
Well, I'm not sure I can speak to that, the broad issue of no hot water, but I am aware that because of the nature, the type of heat exchangers and fluctuating demands for hot water, the heat exchangers must be constantly monitored and manually adjusted. Sometimes water's too hot, sometimes water's too cold. I'm not aware of any equipment failures that are presently, so I'll need more specifics before I can comment or take action.
I believe that's all the questions. Joe?
We did one of the homeowners, I believe we've already addressed Scott, so maybe you can work with Scott on, fixing the specific one. I mean, that one that's been going on for quite a bit. You should be aware.
We're now going to move on to the Treasurer's Controller's report.
Can we turn around, please? Carl, can we turn around so we can see?
He's addressing our board.
Excuse me?
No comments, please. He's addressing the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll begin by distributing the financial report to the board.
Can that be turned around?
Hello, my name is Mache Mai. I will be presenting the financial report this evening. I will start with the cash balances. As of June 30th, the Bank of America depository account has a balance of $380,000. The Bank of Popular R&R account has a balance of $4.4 million. Escrow has a balance of $1.7 million. Total available cash as of June 30th is $4.3 million. When you include escrow, the total cash is $6.1 million. I will now talk about accounts receivable. Total accounts receivable from homeowners as of June 30th, 2015 is approximately $3.3 million. $3.2 million of that is in legal. $70,000 is in payment plans. $38,000 is...
Could you speak louder, please?
Clearly, please.
$38,000 is 1 month past due. $13,000 is 2 months past due. And the remaining $15,000 is over 60 days past due. Okay? I will now talk about accounts payable.
Much better.
It was technical difficulty. I apologize. Total accounts payable as of June 30th, 2015 is $810,000, which includes all invoices posted as of June 30th, plus any known accruals. Legal invoices account for approximately $47,000. R&R invoices account for approximately $178,000. I will now break down the payables. $624,000 is 0 to 30 days old. $28,000 is 31 to 60 days old. $900 is 61 to 90 days old. Finally, $157,000 is over 90 days old, and approximately, as Frank was saying earlier, 82% of that relates to disputed slate elevator invoices. Next is a breakdown of Econo Cafe payments. For the month of June, payments of $312,000 remain through Econo Cafe. As far as the breakdown of owner and tenants, as of June 26, 2015, there were 607 owner occupants and 468 absentee owners. Of the 468 absentee owners units, 395 are occupied by tenants. Units occupied by tenants represent approximately 36% of the total Galaxy units. The monthly financial packets for June should be available by the beginning of next week. This concludes the financial report.
Are there any questions for the controller's office? It appears to be not. Joe, do you have any comments?
Thank
about
you.
that? Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing, quick comments, are the audit has been signed off for the 2014 audited financials. The board is working with the accounting firm and our accounting department on setting a date. We'll let the homeowners know that date as soon as all the parties can come to an agreement on the date. So the bottom line of the 2014 financials was a $186,000 surplus. So that's good news, and the audit was a clean audit report for the second year in a row. So I think it was a successful year. Don't know the last time, I didn't go back that far to see when the last time we got a surplus, but it's good news for the homeowners and the board, I think. So we'll go into that more in detail and when they put the meeting out to walk through the audited financials.
Are there any questions for the treasurer?
Yes. Joe, it just occurred to me, the $186,000, we're positive. What's going to be done with that? Is that going to be returned to the homeowners?
That's up to the board, not the treasurer, so the board will have to discuss that. I don't have a recommendation yet. I want to analyze where we are this year at the midway point and looking at all the projects that Frank's talking about, but I think it'll be a board discussion and see what the board decides, not really my decision, but I will have a recommendation at a point.
Just one other. I've been approached by a lot of homeowners because of all the news about Banco Popular and the news with Puerto Rico and everything. A year ago, well, not quite, last August 14th, the board passed a resolution 1408-102, August 14th of 2014, where we're going to look into diversifying. With all the negative news you hear about Puerto Rico, the banks And
Would
the
you
banks,
ask your question, please don't make a speech.
could you explain what's being done? I know we had passed a few months ago to go to TD Bank, but there was supposed to be a diversification policy that was going to help us to invest, but I don't see anything from TD. So I think it's crazy to leave that much money.
Please
in one
don't make a
bank.
speech,
Personal
ask a
point of view.
question.
Personal point of view.
Not personal point of view.
Richard, please.
When you have.
Richard,
bank
please
loan,
don't
home
make,
escrow,
Richard, please don't make a speech, you've asked a question.
So it's more than personal, it's common sense.
Richard, you're out of order, thank you. I'm glad you finally realized that you're usually out of order.
It's our money after all.
Go ahead, please, Joe.
The accounting firm has just finalized the process to switch over the operating fund with TD Bank, so that should be happening. My estimate would be within the next month, give or take, to move the operating fund over. There's been conversations there, TD Bank is working on investment policy to bring to the board. They haven't met with the board yet, but at this point in time, we can't move all of our money into a bank where we haven't even had any money moved. So unfortunately, things take time. Banco Popular has a presence in Puerto Rico, but they are a U.S. bank. And don't know the last time a U.S. bank went under, and if the U.S. will allow a bank to go under. The money was moved from Merrill Lynch to Banco Popular, all existing accounts. There's been a lot of accusation where me as treasurer has broken rules and done wrong things. We've actually had an legal opinion that moving money, transferring money within internal accounts is allowed by the treasurer and or controller not to start a new account. When starting a new account, we brought it to the board, and that's what we're working on. It's your opinion that it's dangerous to keep it all in that account, and there is money in different accounts. The misinformation to the homeowners also is that every escrow account that's held in Banco Popular is individually FDIC insured. So the $1.4 or so million that's in that account is FDIC insured, each individual account. So if they went under, each one of those 1.4 million would technically all be covered under FDIC insurance, plus the $250 for the other account. My personal opinion on the Merrill Lynch was bought by Bank of America by force of the government because they weren't going to let Merrill Lynch go under. Merrill Lynch would not exist today due to 2008 financial crisis if it wasn't for the government in making all of these consolidations. My anticipation with everything that's going on in Greece is that the United States is not going to let an existing bank go today because out of fear for a run for the money. Everybody goes to all the banks with a run for the money if there's a scare. The government is going to protect Banco Popular the same way they protected Merrill Lynch, the same way they protected many of the other banks that are not here during the financial crisis time during 2008. They all consolidated. They all made sure that the money was there. Banco Popular recently paid back its TARP loan from the government and has passed all of the stress tests. The stress tests are made for these perfect examples of if there is a run, can the bank pass the stress test? Banco Popular has passed that stress test. So our money, in my opinion, is safe in Banco Popular, and we are moving and looking to diversify it into TD Bank as well. And we'll see what they come with the recommendation. And again, as treasurer, I can only make recommendations. I can't make things move quicker than they can move, and I can't open the new account and do that without the board's approval. So it is moving forward. I'm speaking to accounting on it. It will be there, and unfortunately, if homeowners have concerns with this stuff, you can email me or talk to me directly, because when there's miscellaneous emails out there that I'm doing things wrong and I'm corrupt, I think not only I have thick skin, I don't really worry about anonymous sources. They don't really scare me or intimidate me. I didn't join this board to run and hide from people. But unfortunately, a lot of other people that are smart, good homeowners here will not run for the board because of anonymous sources that run around saying, extra, extra, Joe Purcell is guilty, Joe Purcell is wrong. and they say, I don't want to put my family and my name out to have to.
Speech.
Quiet.
Can the audience please stay quiet?
Quiet.
Gentlemen now.
Maybe the people commentating are the anonymous source, but that's all I have to say. I'm standing in front of the homeowners every day. My name is on this. I'm not sitting at home on my computer at 2 in the morning writing anonymous emails where other people are. They hurt the homeowner property. They hurt the value of our property. They also hurt getting good, educated, strong individuals for running for the board and or participating in committees because they don't want the same thing happening to them as happening to some of the board members that are up here tonight.
Thank you. You haven't been recognized, Rich.
I'm preparing for a resolution. May I be?
Do you have another question?
I just have a follow-up to that.
Ask a question. We're not having a discussion now. Thank you. Do you have a question?
I don't have a question, but...
Thank you very much. We're going to move on
It
to
would
the
make
other
people
business.
feel a lot better.
Thank you, Richard.
Money
You're
is
out of
gonna-
order. Thank you. Okay, we're now moving on. There is no unfinished business. The new business. The first order of the new business is the ratification of the natural gas contract with Supreme Energy.
Motion to ratify the results of a prior board vote taken via email on April 16, 2015. That motion being motion to award a 30-month contract for natural gas to Supreme Energy at 0.48610 per therm. The votes on that motion were for Grasham, Heininger, Coldwell, Miller, Purcell, Segee. No response. And Graham, Sekulich, Urbaniak. By voting yes, the director shall confirm his prior vote for or against the motion as read, voted on April 16, 2015.
Is there a second, please? Is there any discussion? There appears no discussion. All those in favor of ratification of the vote, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, those abstaining, the motion is carried. Thank you. The next item of business is Brunello's Restaurante. This is a ratification of a license to allow Brunello's Restaurante to place outdoor tables on the common sidewalks next to the restaurant.
Motion to ratify the results of a prior board vote taken via email on July 6, 2015. The motion was as follows. Motion to grant a V-Bank Corporation doing business as Brunello's Restaurant a revocable license to locate and serve restaurant patrons at 4 tables immediately in front of Brunello's Restaurant on the column element sidewalk of the Galaxy Towers condominium. The granting of this license is in consideration of the benefit that a sidewalk cafe will provide residents of the condominium and the other businesses located in the Galaxy Mall, and without further monetary consideration. This license is granted subject to a B-Base executing a written document agreeing to and a B-Base actually compliance with the following conditions. 1, the outdoor cafe may only be operated during the months of May, June, July, August, and September from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. The tables and chairs will be located approximately as shown on the photo that was circulated. At all times, there will be a distance of at least 4 1/2 feet between the tables, chairs, and umbrella stands and the garden retaining wall opposite the restaurant. 3, in the event of repair or replacement of the sidewalk, a B-Bay Corporation shall remove the tables, chairs, and umbrella stands for the duration of the work on written notice from the G.T.C.A. 4, a B-Bay Corporation shall be responsible to obtain any and all necessary licenses and/or permits from the town of Guttenberg to operate the sidewalk cafe and provide copies thereof to the G.T.C.A. 5, a B-Bay Corporation shall be responsible to keep the sidewalk cafe neat and clean and to see the prompt clearing of the tables and the removal of all debris and trash from the sidewalk cafe. Cleanup activities shall be continuous during hours of operation with a final inspection and cleanup at the end of the business hours daily. 6, a B-Bay Corporation will provide proof of general liability insurance naming G.T.C.A. as an additional insured in an amount satisfactory to the G.T.C.A. 7, a B-Bay Corporation will comply with any and all laws, including local ordinances in connection with the operation of the sidewalk cafe serving liquor. 8, a B-Bay Corporation agrees to indemnify, save harmless, and defend the G.T.C.A. with respect to any claims for damages or loss that arise out of the operation of the sidewalk cafe. And 9, this grant of license may be revoked and terminated at any time by the G.T.C.A. with or without cause by a written notice sent to a B-Bay. The votes on this motion were for De La Fuente, Strasha, Keininger, Kobler, Mack, Purcell, Segui, against Miller, no response, Plunkett. By voting yes, so the motion is ratified. A director is just confirming his or her prior vote for or against the motion on July 6, 2015.
Second. Motion is seconded. Discussion?
I guess I just would like to add that I thought it was it's a nice atmosphere, a nice idea, something positive. I think patrons, both residents and non-residents, would enjoy, and I think we took necessary steps to protect us legally. And I'll be enjoying to see it, and hopefully I'll be sitting up there.
Richard?
Could I ask John just one question? Does this become a reserve common element?
You can address your question.
Okay. Could you ask John, does this become a reserve common element?
No. It does not change the status of the common element.
Okay. And I have something else, just comments now. I believe the precedent's been set. Green Kitchen, Benito's in the past, when they put additions on, it's called the Greenhouse Addition. The sidewalk wasn't always that narrow. Years ago, they built out maybe 10 feet onto the sidewalk. Now, it said right now they're not paying anything for this. So even a nominal amount would be better because the way this is written, in consideration of the benefit it will provide to residents. What would happen if we decided to give monetary inducements or let people forego something just because it would be good for the condo? I just think it sets a bad precedent. We had before a stipulated amount, and I think the same thing should be now.
Yeah, I really thought it was a very nice thing for the community. Get a chance to sit outside, eat something, have a cup of coffee. You know, it just shows you know, that we are people, and we're not just sitting outside. Inside, you know, when it's fresh air outside, it just makes a difference when you're enjoying a nice cup of coffee.
Any other comments?
I don't think that we have to amend it. I just, one point, I think the time maybe had been changed of operation. So the vote, as voted on, that's what this, it was 11 a.m. to 2 a.m.
In granting their license, the town restricted the time.
Can you use the microphone?
In granting the license, the town restricted the time to 10 p.m. and included October, which is essentially within reason.
Then I think that we should have to amend it because we only have until September.
Well, we take the vote. This is a
ratification,
and then I'll do a quick motion to change those two things, okay?
I'm going to call for a vote now, unless all those in favor, please raise your hand to signify. Yes?
This is a affirmation of the vote we
It's a
made.
ratification.
So we're ratifying.
Ratification.
That's the only reason I'm voting yes, because the ratification.
Yes means you voted no.
Yes means you voted no, that's correct.
Yeah.
Barbara,
So
would you-
now make it.
And now I'll make a motion to authorize the grant of the license as described in the prior motion with the changes of that the outdoor cafe may be operated during the months of May through October during the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Is there a second? It's seconded. Is there any discussion? Appears to be no discussion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed? Those abstaining? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. The next order of business is a revision of the Director's Code of Ethics. This is an administrative resolution. And I believe Barbara has again prepared the revision.
Motion to amend Administrative Resolution number 41, Director Code of Ethics, as previously circulated to the board, but with additional edits provided by legal counsel, which consists of, the majority of those consists of non-substantive edits, so there's really no need to go through them. It's just definitions or certain where words appear or the order, but also with the substantive changes proposed by legal counsel as follows. So if you look at the edition that you have, the red line version that I sent you, it would be original section 3.3. Okay, so instead of the way it reads in the version that I sent you, the last clause of that will read, notwithstanding the foregoing, a director may engage in additional duties if specifically authorized to do so by, one, a majority of directors present and voting in the affirmative at a duly called meeting of the board with a quorum present, or two, an officer of the association with authority pursuant to board approval. The next substantive change from the version that you have would be in section 4.3, if you can turn to that. We are adding it reads, other than to present factual information or to respond to questions, we're adding a clause in there that says, and subject to Robert's Rules of Order, parentheses, current version at the time of the meeting. The next substantive change to the version that you have is in 6.2. No, originally 5.2, I'm sorry. So if you turn to 5.2, there will be a sentence added at the end, a clause that will say, or the director is required by law to make said disclosure. And that is the only substantive changes that legal counsel had to the version that you have. The rest, and I will circulate this, but the rest of them are only non-substantive edits. So that's the motion, and after it's seconded, I will explain generally what the changes are prior to engaging in discussion.
Second.
Okay. Barbara?
So So many of the changes are cleaning up the document. Many of the changes are taking out clauses or language that are essentially unnecessary, inappropriate. Specifically, the major change in this is to the final article, which is Article 7, and all of these changes were done in consultation with legal counsel. This final article, as it was originally drafted, most of it included inappropriate and actions that are not authorized by law. Under the law, under the governing documents of the G.T.C.A, as well as condominium law, there is no authority for the Covenants Committee or an Appeals Committee or even an arbitrator to award sanctions against a director for anything. And quite simply, this document, as it was drafted, it's a very strange document, to say the least. We tried to clean it up and keep some version of it in effect. But what it seems to try to do is take the law and create some internal procedures for prosecuting directors, which is not what a code of ethics is for. So hopefully we cleaned it up and are going to save some money in this, because it also, as originally drafted, it automatically stated that any complaint that someone had against a director would go to legal counsel for investigation. No limits on it, no nothing. So automatically, anybody could make a complaint, and then we would be on the hook to pay however much that attorney wanted to charge us for investigation, including depositions and interviews and document review, all for the sake of the only thing we can legally do under this is to issue a private or public reprimand. So we would potentially be spending thousands and thousands of dollars just to be saying, just to issue a document or a statement saying a director did something that we think is inappropriate. So right now, the board has the option of investigating, doing the initial investigation itself, but it also always has the option to go to G.T.C.A legal counsel that we have, or using a special legal counsel if the board feels like that is more appropriate. So it does give us the options, and we're not required to do. The board is not required to automatically spend a lot of money.
Other comments? Richard, please.
Barbara, there's one thing here in section, just 1 second, 4.3, where you said you had just added a little while ago, subject to Robert's rules. Shouldn't it be, it's either Blum's rules or Robert's rules? Because didn't we change it?
I don't think Blum, if I could.
It doesn't, but
Just let John answer.
The way the Galaxy rules work, Robert's rules controls over Blum's rules. Blum's rules do not address that particular type of circumstance. Robert's rules do, by establishing carve-outs for when a director, even if there might appear to be a conflict, has the right to vote. And so what my goal was to make sure that the Roberts Rules provision would not be overridden by this code of ethics.
okay. But since I didn't see it in writing, so it wasn't exactly clear, so I'm glad you cleared that up. Now, I had a lot of questions, well, a handful of questions, and just before we came down here, most of them were cleaned up and explained, and then it was also explained that some of the changes were being made. So I'm only left with 1 or 2 questions. First, Barbara may not believe it, I think she did a very good job of cleaning up the language here. It was because some of the way it was written was archaic. Just, it's much simpler now. However, I do have one major problem here, and the problem is if a complaint is filed, who it goes to. Previously, the attorney would get the complaint and do a preliminary investigation and make recommendations to the board. And if I'm explaining it wrong, John, maybe you can call maybe if I'm not explaining it right. So Barbara also said something, we don't have to spend money this way. I think in all the years, there was never, since about 2009, I don't ever remember there being a complaint over the code of conduct. So I'm not too worried about that. But I just would feel, I would feel better, and it's not just for this board, future boards, I would like to believe that the complaint going to the attorney first would get a fairer reading if there's something there or there's nothing there to about the complaint. I don't know, I wonder myself, if some complaint was made about me, would I really get a fair shake from the other members of the board? I would hope I would, but I don't know. So I would feel much better if the directors really thought about it. It would be better for the attorney, our counsel, John Hay, or whoever it would be, to get the complaint first and then refer it to the board for whatever investigation.
Does anyone else have any comments? Other comments now? I didn't understand what the question was, John.
Well, I wanted to know if I was explaining it right, and
It is correct.
if the complaint
Complaint no longer goes to the attorney directly. The way it's written, it goes to the board. The board then determines what should be done with the complaint.
that's where I have the problem. I would feel, I'm just saying, my opinion, more comfortable if the attorney got it, because I would like to think that the attorney, you could get fair shake. I don't always know, whether it's this board, any board, if you could get a fair hearing on it initially. Because it may just be a nuisance.
Thank you,
complaint.
thank you, Richard.
Could we hear from John?
There's no question. Your statement is correct. I mean, it's perfectly correct. You have your opinion.
No, we
If there's any question.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Barbara for working on this. This I'm sure was not easy. And I just wanted to state that if a board director is working ethical, I'm sure he has nothing to worry about.
Are there any other comments? There appears to be no other comments.
Could I just say one other thing? When you say you're sure, again, that's your opinion, just like you said
Please.
before, it's my opinion. Sometimes people don't want to let themselves really examine what the truth is. Some people have prejudices. I'm not saying anybody in this board, but it would be better if it went to the attorney first.
Thank you. Barbara?
Just to point out that even if it went to the attorney first, it comes back to the board for the final decision. So you spend money for the attorney, and then the same people you're concerned about make the final decision anyway. So I'm not sure if that's a smart use of money just for, and again, all for a statement that somebody did something that the rest of the board thinks was unethical. This seems like an exercise in futility. To me, the directors have legal duties. You have legal duties, and we are obliged to uphold those legal duties. Code of ethics are usually for professionals like attorneys. I've never heard of code of ethics for a board of directors, but it's here, so we're trying to make it as useful and simple as possible.
Richard?
I forgot really what my comment was, but again, you would have an initial recommendation from the attorney, because he may say there's nothing there. And And then the board gets to weigh what the attorney said and your feelings, what you think may have happened.
Are there any other comments now? There appear to be no other comments, and calling for a vote. All those in favor of the revised Code of Ethics, raise your hand to signify yes. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion carries. The next item of business is the installation contract for the air conditioning units.
I vote to authorize the award of a contract to Accurate Air Inc. of Fairfield, New Jersey for installation of 7 HVAC systems for the spa common areas at a cost of $167,096 plus a 10% contingency for a total contract price of $183,806. This award would be, this authorization is contingent upon the execution of a written contract approved by G.T.C.A. legal counsel.
Is there a second? The motion is second. Is there any discussion?
I know Frank went over it a bit during his report, but I would just ask you to remind the homeowners the fact that we did go through the bidding process and obtained 3 bids.
Please.
Sure.
Just very
Yeah, very briefly, we had 4 active bidders, only 3 submitted bids, and the bids were as follows. Accurate Air was $183,000 with the contingency. EVCO Mechanical was, I'm sorry, let me back up. They were $167,096 before the contingency was added. Next lowest bidder was about $38,000 higher. EVCO Mechanical, $205,900, and ARC Group, $288,960. All 3 bids were reviewed. They're all 3 clean bids. So this was competitive. And the HVAC units were previously purchased, so we own and have possession of 5 of the 7 units. 2 will be delivered directly once the project commences.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Richard?
You may have covered this, this may have been covered, Carl, in Frank's management report, but one of the companies, I think it was the lowest bidder, he didn't want, how is this going to be delivered on site?
Well, 5 of the units are in a storage facility that under our control in North Bergen. So the contractor is required to pick those units up and bring them to the site. The final 2 units that we purchased a few months ago will be delivered directly by the manufacturer. The contractor will also take possession of those units at the site, and all 6 of the units will be lowered from the plaza level down to the north and south lawns with a crane. And one of the units will go in the S level in Tower 1. That will have to be muscled up with rigging blocks, tackle, and temporary makeshift gantries to get it into place. Quite a complicated operation. It will take about 8 weeks in total to put it in. And the successful contractor was asked to provide several clarifications, which he did today, and certifications that he's in complete compliance and agreement with all the specifications that our engineer has laid out in the drawings. So we're very confident it's a clean bid.
So my only question is, was this the one who didn't originally want to lower the equipment?
Well, we had originally bid this a few months back before it was conceived that the equipment could be lowered from the plaza level instead of coming up from River Road, which would have been quite complicated. All 3 bidders did propose to lower it from a crane from the plaza level on the second round. I think I originally, when I glanced at the bids, we opened them on Monday evening. it wasn't apparent that this would be the rigging method. That has been clarified, it certainly is. In fact, we have since got specifications for the crane they intend to use on the plaza. It's a flatbed / crane combination, 30,000 pounds, and our structural engineer is now checking out whether or not that plaza driveway is compatible for that kind of weight. We don't anticipate any problems there.
Justin?
He answered my question.
Any other questions then, or comments? I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of this resolution, raise your hands and signify yes. It's unanimous. The next order of business concerns the mini park area to include the tower walkway. This would be a revision of policy resolution number 15. This will be the first reading of the amendment if it's passed tonight. Next month, we will have an official passage. It takes 30 days notification. Would you like to make the motion, Bowman?
Yeah, do I have to
No, it's just the change.
Okay, motion to amend policy resolution number 15 to extend the mini park rules and regulations to include the tower bridges on the 20th floor from each tower.
A second? Motion is seconded. Are there any comments? Richard, pass the mic.
What is the reason that you want to include mini park? Is there a reason? If we're making such a change,
The reason is there are new rules for the bridges, and we would like to extend the rules applied to the mini park to the bridges.
Okay, can I make another comment?
Certainly can.
In the Galaxy offering statement, it says, the 20th floor is connected by an open bridge to the landscape plaza above the commercial unit. So that's contemplating that the bridge is extending out from the building and it's not part of the mini park. If we have a walkway from Boulevard East to the lobby, you don't make the walkway part of the lobby. So,
Just wait 1 minute. Barbara?
As you can see in the policy resolution, the proposed change that legal counsel worked on for us. All right, I stated it that way in the motion. I can amend it, but it's to simplify for people to understand that what we are essentially doing. But if you read the proposed changes, it's not technically making them part of the mini park. What it says, the mini park and tower bridges are referred to as the passive recreation areas, and they will be fully covered by the rules that apply to the mini park.
Justin?
So let me get this straight. If right now I want to go outside and go on the Tower Bridge, I can have a barbecue and play my radio. If at the rules the way they stand right now.
That appears to be correct.
You can.
That was
You can go up.
right now, if I want to go upstairs, I can have a barbecue and play my radio on the bridge
Not appears.
because there's no rules on the bridge.
That's correct.
Thank you.
my question is, why don't we then make just rules for the bridges and not even associate them with the mini park? Because the definition of a bridge, I look up quickly, connecting, transition between two adjacent elements, a structure spanning and providing passage over a gap or barrier to another location. So the bridges, by definition, are not part of the mini park, and maybe they need their own rules.
Are there any other comments? There appears to be no other comments on this. All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? The motion carries. It will be on the agenda next month to make it official. The next Item of business is the contract for the annual fire alarm inspection and testing.
Make a motion to authorize the award of a contract to AES of East Hanover, New Jersey, in the amount of $24,800 for inspection in all three towers, the garage, common hallways, stairwells, and the mall, for an annual and documented inspection in accordance with NFPA 72 standards. This authorization is subject to the execution of a written contract approved by legal counsel.
Is there a second? The motion has been seconded. Are there any comments? There appears to be no comments. All those in favor of approving the contract, please signify by raising your hand. The motion is unanimously carried. The next motion is a contract for the Yardi inventory control module.
Motion to authorize the award of a contract to Yardi Systems, Inc. of Santa Barbara, California for an annual inventory software licensing agreement in the amount of $5,375 and a one-time setup fee training cost of $4,800, totaling $8,384.
Is there a second? Motion is seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would just ask the chair, through the chair, if Frank could explain a little bit about what this is and why management and feels we need it.
Please, Frank.
Thank you. The board had asked the maintenance and purchasing department, which is in the maintenance department some months ago, to explore implementing a formalized and computer-based inventory control system for its parts inventory, which I believe has a value of some $75,000, if I'm not mistaken. The maintenance and purchasing staff evaluated Granger, Building Link, and Yardi, and they proposed the Yardi solution for several reasons. The Yardi inventory control system offered all the features that they specified in an inventory control system. Also, Yardi is currently the accounting system used by the G.T.C.A. So selecting Yardi for this solution allows the inventory system and also the in-unit services work order system to feed right into the accounting system, so that when work orders are requested of homeowners and followed through with, the cost will go right into the accounting system and bill the unit owners both for the time, the manpower time, and the materials used, whatever the cost is, plus whatever markup if appropriate. That is why they recommended Yardi. The cost was also competitive.
Just to let the owners know that at least, I don't know if Frank said it, but at least there were three companies that were considered and well, more companies I'm sure were looked at, but three companies were interviewed in consideration of an inventory management system. And from my point of view, this is just, it's another step in getting some more better internal controls here at the Galaxy.
Are there any other comments?
The only thing I'll add to it is that this system will allow the Galaxy to have a live inventory system. It'll give accounting and the maintenance department better tools to analyze and look at the spend and look at what we're charging owners versus the work being performed, plus as well as procurement of the different parts, where they'll be able to see how quickly it's turning over, how much we should order, if we can get a better discount if we order more because it's a part that's used a lot at any given time. And I'll work with the accounting department to do some, take some inventory counts and make sure, identify if parts are walking out of the building or if they're, the amounts are going up as they are. So, as Barbara mentioned, internal control as well as, hopeful savings and potentially buying parts in the future as we, now have reports that both maintenance department and accounting department can analyze.
Are there any other comments? Preston?
Yes, my question is for Frank, if I might. Is it possible that we could discuss with them and maybe get some of this initial cost waived for setting up the contract with them? If we can ask them if they can waive the initial cost, the setup charge, the $5,000.
Yeah, well, the initial cost was $4,800. That was for training and setup. Sure, it's possible. Anything's possible. We'll ask, if that's the direction of the board, we'll go back to Yardy and continue to negotiate if that's what the board so chooses.
I'd like to table this.
Is there a second to table? There is no second to table. Then I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of this motion, raise your hand to signify yes. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion is carried. Is there any other new business?
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to replace the two facades on the existing 4-foot by 8-foot triangular light box signs located on our driveway on Boulevard East to read "Welcome to the Galaxy." Parking for guests and more patrons with an arrow pointing north, and the two facades on the existing 97-inch by 27-inch rectangular light box located at the entrance to the parking garage ramp on Boulevard East to read "Mall and Guest Parking" with an arrow facing east on each side, for the cost not to exceed $1,800.
Second.
I have one question that occurred to me. I believe that mall parking is below the 8th floor. Are we saying to go on to the 16th now? Is that what the motion is? Mall parking is below the 8th floor. So we shouldn't be pointing people to the 16th. It just occurred to me that it's a fine idea. Could we amend it to provide appropriate signs for parking?
Yeah.
Then we scratch the second sign on the garage entrance. I would just change the triangular sign.
Could put a sign up there on the garage entrance at the 8th floor?
Oh, then we can amend, right, okay. So then I amend that, or
Can we just do it informally too?
We could just say appropriate sign. We could appropriate
appropriate signs on a rectangular light box located on the entrance of the parking garage ramp on Boulevard East.
Richard?
Just,
Do I?
You can,
I want
Richard,
I'd like to finish.
Richard, you can certainly speak.
Please let me say that this, at the least, will be an improvement to our overall curb appeal. These signs are very uninviting the way they are now. As everyone well knows, the mall is a vital part of the Galaxy, and parking on Boulevard East is very limited. I believe this change will help potential customers become more aware that the mall has parking for their patrons, and at the same time increase garage revenue by way of letting our guests know where our garage is located. The existing sign box's potential is being wasted because as of now, there are no lettering on these signs.
Richard?
I think that the sign or a rendering of the sign should come back to the board and management, so just to make sure everything's okay before we go forward with it, just so there's no misunderstanding.
I don't think I think we can agree to that without amending it. That's okay to everyone. That it should be approved. The sign should be approved.
Through management.
Well, I think by the board. The board usually.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Any sign.
Any artwork will be approved by the board.
informally.
Can we just add, after approval by the board, if, okay, all those unless
Was there a
there's other
second?
comments, all those in favor of the motion, signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Is there any new business before the board? It appears not.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to include, I'm looking at the financial report, and where it gives the arrears in the different categories. So I'd like to make a motion that the number of homeowners in each category are included in future reports. We used to have that.
Is there a second? There appears to be no second. Thank you. Are there any new business before the board? I think this is something we can take into consideration. I don't think we need a motion for it. If there's no other business, I'd like to have a call for adjournment. Now, motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor? You second?
No, I made the motion.
All those in favor of adjourning, raise your hand to signify yes. There are one board members that we have to have a short executive session after this. Thank you all very much.